Hello, minions, and welcome back to the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 1st Edition campaign. In this adventure, we're following some of the main players from the Night Below campaign as they travel a great distance to find the tomb of Sakatha in an effort to locate a Holy Avenger. Settle in, get a snack, and let's see what these troublemakers get up to today. As always, the action is recreated using the Order of the Stick Monsterfrary season cutout minis. The players: Grant as Rotkill, neutral good dwarven fighter, level 8. Claude as Dub, neutral good dwarven thief, level 8. Les as Bovel, neutral good human magic user, level 7. Ron as Valletta, chaotic good human cleric of Tymora, level 7. Dave as Daryl, lawful good human paladin of Lathander, level 6. Sean as Octavius, chaotic good human ranger, level 6. And one henchman, Larian, chaotic good human cleric of Tymora, level 4. We pick up the session as the team arrives at an outpost called Fort Meridian in the high moors of northern Cormyr, just shy of entering an unpacified region known as the Goblin Marches. They have been on the road for a fortnight since leaving Tilverton. Fort Meridian is an outpost set up as a shelter for travelers and a staging area for purple dragons, as plans to send troops to pacify the region come to fruition by the nation. The group is met by a gate guard who inquires about their business before letting them in. Inside, they are greeted by a Lionar named Kirsch, Lionar being a rank equal to captain in the Cormyrian army. The team discusses their travel and business, at which point Kirsch warns against travel through the Goblin Marches, especially as a recent group has been robbed blind by goblin raiders. He mentions that it was strange, as the goblins didn't harm anyone, other than to rob them, but sent them on their way with enough water to survive and make it to the fort. He informs the team that the quartermaster is also authorized to sell provisions, but not weaponry, if they need to restock. The team stables their animals and heads to the common area where cots and tables are laid out for travelers. It's not an inn, but a protected waypoint, so none of the usual amenities and comforts they are used to are present. Here they meet the 9 travelers who survived the goblin attack and ask about the encounter. The leader of this group tells them about a point in the road, about half a day from here, where the rocks form a bottleneck, which is a prime ambush point. The goblins surrounded them from above, front and back, but the leader wasn't a usual guttural filthy goblin. He was eloquent in speech. He spoke well, and even treated them kindly, aside from robbing them, of course. And very curiously, when one of the goblin brutes did try to attack, their leader had him cut down instead with apologies. The Caravaneer explains how they felt compelled to give their money and possessions, leaving them virtually naked, all save a skin of water to stay alive. Then the goblins let them go. They came to the fort where Kirsch has been kind enough to put them up during their hardship. They are waiting on the next supply caravan so they can continue on to Tilverton. The team discusses this, and Dub wonders if the goblins have a ring of human control. They have more questions of Kirsch, but as he's busy, the second-in-command, Gallard, helps them out. Dub is questioning some locations and distances on the map, and they compare the Purple Dragon's map of the era with the one Dub had acquired in Arabelle. There are noticeable differences, such as the distance from Arabelle to Tilverton, which explains why the team took so long when Dub's map seemed to indicate that the 2 towns were close together. They plot the next leg of their journey, and buy several weeks' worth of provisions. Gallard tells them that once they pass the Farsi Marsh, they are out of Cormyr and into the Western Heartlands. They estimate between 15 and 20 days of travel for that. The next day, the weather holds, and they depart the fort and into the Goblin Marches. Valletta has made a point to shift one of his usual spells to detect evil. As they approach the previously mentioned bottleneck, Daryl, Bovel, and Larian are met with a strange sensation, though not unfamiliar. Psychic emanations similar to what they feel in Heronshire, as well as when they were near the Founding Stone. The group discusses the meaning of it, but none have answers. Bovel casts Fly on Octavius, enabling him to scout ahead from the air. He sees nothing near the bottleneck to indicate an ambush. But from his vantage point, he sees a miles-long, crescent-shaped canyon. At one point there is an elevation with a lone tree in an otherwise barren and rocky terrain. It's massive, albeit dead, and with a hole at the base. The tree sits not more than a couple of 100 yards from the ambush bottleneck, though not easily seen from the ground. He flies closer and spots a few goblins perched on the lower branches with bows. Given the daylight, they can't see him as goblins have limited daytime sight. He flies closer to the bottleneck on the road to make sure there are no goblins waiting to ambush before reporting back to the group. There is talk of moving closer to the tree that Bovel may launch a fireball at it and engage the goblins. Valletta suggests that Larian cast Augury to get some guidance on the course of action to attack the goblins, and he does so, asking Lady Tymora for advice. The Augury turns up a dire warning of woe, which Larian suggests means long-shot odds, which, as everyone knows, means greater potential rewards. The others are not so keen to gamble on this, however, and it is decided that they will return to the fort to tell Kirsch what they have learned. Pfft! I thought they'd all converted to the faith of Lady Tymora. Where's the gambling spirit, you wimps? Deciding they don't want to risk their mission on goblins with unknown powers, the team changes their planned route, opting to travel north off the road to the border of the Anorak Desert and along its perimeter, passing near the Battle of Bones and a straight shot across the Western Heartlands to the Marsh of Chelimber, that being their final destination. They estimate at least another month of the journey. Assuming they can't find any settlements along the way, Valletta plans to use his magic to create food and water if they run out of their normal supplies. The next day, the weather warms up as they travel north towards the massive desert. As they approach the southern border of the Great Anorak, they feel the heat amping up, so much that even in the early spring, the weather is as hot as the summertime. The heat exhaustion is enough to force them to remove their armor. Fortunately, there are no encounters during the day, and they rest for the night. In the middle of the night, during Bovel and Rotkill's watch, they hear something, or rather, many somethings coming their way. There is no surprise for the group, but there is surprise for whatever is coming, and as the group has no fire and are fairly well concealed by the darkness, Rotkill and Bovel wake up the team swiftly, and the warriors scramble to armor up. The team hears bickering in some guttural language, which those with linguistic skills identify as Orcish, but there are other deeper voices of different and larger creatures. Bovel uses newly acquired boots of levitation to rise into the air, while Dub readies a thick pouch that contains and subdues his continual light token. By the time the approaching force enters infravision range and sees the group, the team is ready for battle with missiles ready to shoot. Dub unveils the continual light, revealing a platoon of 14 orcs backed up by 10 hill giants. A most unusual complement of creatures indeed. Surprise being over, the orcs and giants ready up to fight, and initiative is diced. The orcs and giants win, as they are almost always armed with rocks and boulders. The giants fling these deadly missiles while the orcs form up into a shield wall and pike formation. As the group was readying up, Larian had cast Sanctuary on himself, but as the DM randomly rolls the giants' targets, Larian is ironically targeted by no fewer than 4 of the giants' boulders. 3 strike with devastating effect, the giants having made their save versus the Sanctuary spell. The 4th fails and retargets the nearby Valletta, who is struck, disrupting his attempt to cast a prayer spell. Larian is knocked into critical condition at -2 hit points. One of the mules is also killed in the barrage. Octavius takes a blow. Rotkill is targeted, but a natural 1 sees the giant miss by a country mile. Returning fire, Octavius shoots with his bow to minimal effect, but the real MVP is Bovel, who from his vantage blankets the orcs and all but 3 of the giants with the blizzard spell, outright killing the entire orc squad and severely injuring 7 giants. Morale is rolled, but a 0-5 means the giants are incensed. Rotkill and Daryl change their declarations and charge at the end of the melee round, using a DM house rule for a mid-round change of action, granting D4 segments of action. Rotkill rolls a 4, giving him 4 segments, allowing him to reach the giants on his charge. Daryl scores only a 1, meaning he doesn't quite make it. In round 2, the giants themselves charge into melee. Rotkill finds himself engaged with 3 giants, while 3 others charge Daryl. 2 rush at Dub and Octavius, and 1 at Valletta. Bovel has started the process of casting a fireball. Melee begins, and this is Rotkill's wheelhouse. Battle sees him slicing the giants apart with great ease. Daryl and Dub aren't so lucky in their strikes. Valletta has declared a spell again, but is once again struck, thus disrupting it. Bovel attempts to center a fireball to maximize the damage, but slightly miscalculates the blast area. While he does get several giants in the area of effect, Daryl is also caught on the fringe of the blast and takes some damage, though he succeeds on his save and reduces it. The giants previously hit by his blizzard are all killed, including the one in front of Valletta. A second morale roll for the giants, and the DM rolls another 5. Wow, minions, that's literally a 1 in 10,000 chance. The giants' morale is holding, and they're fighting to the death. Though I use the term fighting loosely, as these giants are no match for Rotkill, an 8th level dwarven warrior with 2 attacks per round due to his level and weapon specialization. who dances through and cuts them down with great ease. Valletta casts Cure Light Wounds to stabilize Larian, who is bleeding out. A roll of 2 puts him at -1 hit points. No more bleeding out, but still in critical condition. Bovel bombards from above with magic missiles as Daryl and Octavius cut apart the remaining giants. Dub has moved around the battlefield, positioning himself between the 2 melee engagements to throw darts for support. Needless to say, the giants fall to this powerhouse team. With the battle concluded, Valletta casts another Cure Light Wounds onto Larian, and another 2 is rolled, putting him at 1 hit point. A System Shock roll is required after coming back from negative hit points, which Larian easily makes, though he'll need a week of convalescing to heal up fully. They loot the creatures, and, as experts on giant behavior, the 2 dwarves and ranger comment that this many male giants in one group is highly unusual, especially with the presence of the orcs. This suggests a larger, more dangerous tribe. As giants are wont to carry large sacks laden with goodies, the team collects a massive haul of various coins totaling in the tens of thousands from all the large sacks each giant carries. So much so that their already laden wagon can't bear the full burden of it all. They bury all but 9,000 pieces of gold and mark the location for a later return. The next morning the group packs up and considers briefly the value of returning to the fort to rest and repair Daryl's now very damaged armor, but decide rather to press forward on their journey. The session concludes there. Well, minions, another day, another adventure. They are still a long way from arriving at the county of Aor, the location of the module being played, but have patience. They will get there in real time. Let's discuss the use of one-to-one time, shall we? The DM has been using one-to-one time in his games for quite a while now, though as the adventures have largely been in a single area, it hasn't come up for overland travel. This method is probably not a typical application for many groups, but I feel it does add to the flavor of the game. One-to-one time, for those not in the know, is a system wherein time away from the table is meant to pass in real time in the game. While at the table, time passage moves as needed for the narrative. But when you pack up your session, real time passes until you play again. This enables meaningful time passage in your game world. Of course, not every session ends at a perfect place to just let time continue on, so the solution is to bank the time, as it were, and apply it later. In this case here, the DM applies the banked time all at once at the completion of the adventure when the XP is awarded. With the long overland journey, it's easy enough to simply say that the time away from the table has passed without incident, and then double-check the map to see how far the team has progressed when they pick up the next session. Once at the table, the game comes to life again, and all of the possible encounters and adventures resume. In the end, when the group finally reaches their destination, the actual amount of time their characters have been traveling will have passed in real life. Sure, it'd be easy enough to simply fast-forward to their arrival, but to me I think this adds a level of immersion, don't you think? I suppose opinions will vary on this one, but I like it. On the scenario front, the players made the conscious choice not to engage with the mysterious goblins. This is fine and does not diminish the game at all. The scenarios are laid out for players to interact with. Choosing avoidance is a fair strategy, especially for a team already focused on a goal. There will be no quantum goblins here, minions. Don't expect this scenario to be relocated. Just because the DM prepped it doesn't mean it's going to happen. But that isn't to say it will never see use. Now that the Goblin tribe is established, as is Fort Meridian, they become elements in the ongoing campaign. What was going on with these goblins? What will happen going forward? We'll find out should the players come back. The fact that they buried some treasure here means a possible return, and then we get to find out what has happened in the interim. The encounter that did occur was an organic random encounter. Well, 2, actually. There were 2 consecutive encounter checks that prompted something, and in such cases the DM rolls to see if they overlap. The role of hill giants and orcs in a land teeming with such tribes prompted an arbitrary decision to have them allied, and voila. What's more fun is how easily the team dismantled what would have otherwise been a TPK for many other groups. Narratively, this really sets the stage for the overall adventure, as we get a clear glimpse of just how powerful these PCs are at this stage in their careers. So I can't wait to see how they interact with the upcoming module, I-2, the Tomb of the Lizard King. Marking this encounter as a baseline for comparison against encounters there, we will really be able to judge the level of difficulty of the module in question. And so, minions, the intrepid team marches forward. 21 days between sessions means 21 days will have passed in-game when we pick up the next episode, which, according to the map, puts them right at the Battle of Bones, a haunted and dangerous locale. Stay tuned for my summons, minions, and ta for now.